taken out for the Vizio.
Oh, yes. The one time I went on my Black Friday shopping, which I went to Walmart, it was entertaining. The only time I ever did
Good morning and welcome to the Hodge Pack Sports Life and everything in between right here on 106.9, the Country Giant. We're in the Mall of Our Potosi Live studio, hanging out, getting ready, and we're probably actually going to make sure we talk about, because next week, years ago, it would have been people lined up, breaking in, ready to go shopping for the, back in the day, 50 inches was a big TV. Now that's like a monitor. But we are glad that you're with us. We're brought to you by Lotta Land and Cattle. Hodge, Misty, and Josh ready to get, in my opinion, it's the best way to start your Fridays with the Hodge Pack from 7 to 9.
It's not an opinion. It's a fact.
It is an exact fact that is proven by something. We are glad that you're with us. We had snow last night on the TV, and football was being played, and football was being played across the state as Texas High School football round 2. Many teams were playing last night, and of course there'll be plenty tonight playing as well. Major Baseball hands out their superlatives, and people won awards that we'll get Josh's take as part of the Lawrence Hall headline report of whether or not he was shocked on any of those. We have Dr. Larry Ellis is going to be our guest speaker. He played football at Texas A&M, retired veterinarian in town, and so we'll get his takes on. I didn't think he'd be available next week. I know Josh and Misty are going to be gone with Thanksgiving. Me and Harris times 2 will be bringing the show to you, but get his opinion because next week the rivalry that was gone for so long because the SEC moved is back, and it is a very expensive ticket. It's a very expensive hotel and all the things. So Misty, Josh, Misty with the leather today, Josh coming back from Houston yesterday. So how's everybody this morning?
Great. Yeah. Obviously, it's not Casual Friday today.
No, you're very, very fancy.
Got to take some pics today. So, had to dress up a little bit.
Yeah, I had to defrost my windshield this morning for the first time of the years. It was 31 degrees at my house when I woke up this morning. It caught me off guard. When I walked outside, I was telling Misty, I usually would go work out in the mornings before I get ready to come to town for work or whatever. And I went into the shop this morning. I was like, nope, it's too cold. And I went back inside, laid down. So anyway, but that did make me think it is cold. I need to start my pickup before I leave. And I'm glad I did because it was frosted over. So, I guess it's that time of year.
It is. That is one of the perks of when we moved to where we're in now. The only requirement I had is that my pickup would fit in the garage.
Yes, that's so nice. Speaking of this random, I don't know that I've known you to have any other vehicle. Like, how long have you had that truck?
Well, I've had a black F-250 for a long time.
Yeah. I was thinking about you said that. I don't think I've ever seen you drive another vehicle other than the Bronco.
Well, in fact, it's funny because the other day I was dropping off my kids at school and my son Luke said, "Dad, when are you going to get a new pickup?" And I said, I don't know. This one works fine. And I thought to myself, I embarrassed my children with my old dirty pickup that all their friends' dads drive much fancier trucks.
Well, you better enjoy it, Luke, because this will be what you're driving.
Yeah, so we're keeping it till you drive it. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, speaking of pickups, you can get one at Lawrence Hall in Abilene, and you can get a new truck if you want to help Josh out. He's got a Luke GoFundMe account so you don't embarrass his kids. Because the funny thing is, I would not be he's the one I would not pick to be embarrassed. It would be Molly, just because she's the older one.
Right.
But she understands real quick. Oh, you don't like it? How about the yellow dog?
Yeah.
Get on the yellow dog.
It could get worse.
Yeah. But we'll dive into our Lawrence Hall headline report. Again, lots going on. Head over to Lawrence Hall, get you a new car, truck, or SUV. The Injure 2024. Corey and their salespeople will get you taken care of. But we'll start with the NFL last night. Unsportsmanlike, I get a show I enjoyed watching during the week. They threw out that, would you want a snowy Super Bowl? And I voted on their Twitter page, and it was 51% yes, 49 no.
Huh.
I said no. Would you want a snowy Super Bowl?
I mean, I think it changes things up. Like, I don't know that I necessarily have a big opinion on it, but I think it'd be fun to see a snowy Super Bowl just because that's not the norm.
Yeah.
I don't think that I would like it just from a football standpoint. You know, you if you're watching the culmination of the season, you don't want it to be decided because, you know,
A slippery.
you have to change your whole game plan because of the weather, you know. So, and that's, I think, generally why most of the time they're not playing Super Bowl games in places that the weather becomes a factor.
Right. You know, the one that they did have in New York, I think they were fortunate enough that the weather just might have been chilly. I don't think it was that what we saw last night. And the Super Bowl that Peyton Manning won was very rainy. It was like in Tampa or somewhere in one of the Florida locations, either Tampa or Miami, and it was rainy. And so, and ironically, the one that has curtains that don't work and a dome that can close and can kill you if you look up, it was the coldest day before Snowmageddon when Dallas when they hosted. So, but last night the Browns beat the Steelers 24-19. And if there ever was a time, and you mentioned how it'd be interesting and changes things, I think last night, even though they have Najee Harris, the reason that the Browns were able to win is because they could say, here you go, Nick Chubb, run. And Nick Chubb was the difference last night as the Browns beat the Steelers 24-19. Steelers, I still think they're pretty decent. Russell Wilson didn't play bad. He had a touchdown, no interceptions, just didn't get enough to get it done last night. Again, I got to watch the end of it. We'll talk more. Misty and I will talk more about this, but the big news this week was Gino Auriemma, UConn women's basketball coach, winningest coach in NCAA history, passing Tara Vanderveer with 1,217 wins. I don't know if you saw it, but they actually brought out a live goat as part of the celebration, if you will. And so anyway, that was this week. And Caitlin Clark is in the news again. Potential owner Caitlin Clark is part of a group that's looking to bring a National Women's Soccer League team to Cincinnati. And when was the last time? And I think Sabrina, I think there may be a couple of other people involved in Saturday Night Live in the WNBA that's on this group.
Saturday Night Live. That's weird.
Yeah, transition. But I say all that that tells you the other game changer that she's made, money-wise and all that, to be a part of a group that's potentially
after one season.
Yeah,
That's wild.
and ironically, the majority of that money probably came at her time in Iowa as the star of women's basketball as a whole. But anyway, Caitlin Clark in the news. Real quick, want to run through some high school sports, high school football scores from last night. Jayton beat Blackwell 60-8, moving on in the playoffs. Stanford winning 49-13 over Panhandle. And the Anson Tiger season, unfortunately, comes to an end as they lose to Post last night, 42-35. More games tonight. Wiley going to Godley to play Anna. Jim Ned's playing Dalhart. Again, tons of big country teams still alive. Cisco, Hawley, Albany, Abilene High is still playing as well. So lots of games, a lot of going on across the playoff landscape. Excuse me. But now, again, this past week, Josh, the MLB gave out awards. Just running through them, the MVP unanimously went to Shohei and Aaron Judge. Was there anybody on the outside that you thought could have taken one of those away from those two?
No, I saw it coming from a mile away. I'm bothered by a DH winning the MVP because you only play half of the game. But he did have a wonderful season. I mean, there's not. I get why he won it, but it just. The notion of it kind of bothers me. And Aaron Judge was far and away the best player in the American League.
Oh yeah, and then going through the rest of them, Chris Sale winning the NL Cy Young. Tigers pitcher, my handwriting looks terrible. Tyreek Skubal won the AL Cy Young. Managers of the Year, Stephen Vaught from the Guardians. Pat Murphy from the Brewers. Luis Gil wins the AL Rookie of the Year, and then no doubt Paul Skeens wins the Rookie of the Year. And so, yeah, good stuff there. Any of those shock you?
No, I think they were all right. The only thing that I was bothered by in general in the Rookie of the Year voting is that Wyatt Langford was not even a finalist, even though he led the American League rookies in wins above replacement. Had a slow start to the season, and that probably kind of like dimmed the star a little bit. But the batters, the hitters that were finalists, Gil being a pitcher that pitched very well, so I see, I have no problem with him having beaten Wyatt Langford in that. But the hitters that were finalists were not as good as Wyatt Langford, and yet he was not a finalist, so that bothered me.
Yeah, and then I think probably what hurt him again being on the team that he was on, lack of success.
Yes. His start was slow, and then by the time that he got to putting up the numbers that he did as a rookie in the back half of the season, the Rangers were already kind of out of it and kind of an afterthought. Because
everybody on this list made the playoffs except Paul Skeen. But there was
he was just dominating.
There was no way he was not making it.
Yeah. So I do think that that's probably part of it. The Yankees had 2 guys as finalists, the Orioles, and they're all good players. So, but it was just, and I didn't think he was going to win because I did think that there was Gil had a very good season as a pitcher, and that's something that's going to kind of where you go with that. But he had a very good season, so I'm fine with that. But I just wanted to see the recognition of being a finalist, and I did. Right. My homerism got really upset.
Cleveland Cavaliers finally lost the game to the Boston Celtics. Not a slump to lose to the defending world champs. We got about 1:40 left, and you said you were on your way and couldn't find anything to watch on TV because there wasn't a whole lot of sports on Wednesday nights. Misty, you caught a lot of the CMAs. Are you a award? Obviously, you didn't, but are you normally an award show watcher or no?
Yeah, normally I like to see, sometimes they get a little ridiculous with the collaborations. And so sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, are just overdoing it. But I normally like to tune in or at least catch like a recap and just kind of see who sang with who, I like to see what they, wore. Yeah. I'm into fashion, so more so of like what everybody looks like.
Josh, what parts did you catch? We got about a minute.
Well, I guess I turned it on right after the Brooks and Dunn with Jelly Roll singing "Believe." We were at a hotel, and I'd walked down to get some ice and stuff. And when I came back, Leanne told me that she had turned that on, and it was really good. And so just kind of had it on for a little there. What I noticed the most, and this is a funny observation, is the country music people look less country music than maybe they ever have. But the music is actually sounding more country than it has in the last decade and a half. So I'm just kind of
we're going to come back to that because I know that Sports Life and everything in between. This will be in between, and you can hear great country music that sounds like country music on 106.9, the Country Giant. That is our Lawrence Hall Headline Report. When we come back, we'll pick up where Josh left off, write a song, but then we'll look at still SMU is a country song. Always left out. Quit cheating on me.
I got hot and had to take my vest off.
Did you? Yeah, I've got
And then I had this thought: did I put deodorant on? I'm not sure.
Oh man, I hate that when I've done that.
Misty will let you know real quick.
I'll be like, bro, put your arm on.
Josh, please stop talking with your hands.
I have deodorant in my bag. I mean, you probably wouldn't want to use it because it's like Dove, but I do have some Dove.
There's nothing wrong with Dove.
Well, but
I've been in a pinch and put some secret on.
Well, I just, I don't know that it's strong enough for the elements. Elements of Josh's manly pits.
I'm very, very much like routine, and I'm kind of OCD, honestly, and I'm not sure that's surprising. But
yeah, I was gonna say yes.
But if I mess up my routine in the morning, I'm all over the place. And since I didn't work out, and I just laid back.
You're
down.
like, I don't need deodorant.
Yeah, it's like I know I opened the drawer and I thought about it, but did I do it?
I'm out of routine too because I don't have my watch on.
No.
So I left the house and I was like, oh, my watch, but
I sent her that one text and threw her for a loop.
It did. Yeah. Well, then I didn't see it. Then I was nervous. I was like, is he okay?
Oh, I'd have called you if I was not okay.
Yeah, good.
Which most of the time I'm not okay.
Just up for debate, I guess.
Every time I see that little container, I think it's like a pack of gum. And I want to be like,
what container? He'll give you a piece.
No, but I
Bet you won't blow bubbles.
Yeah.
The college football playoff, like we talked about it last week, I guess. That I told you it would all like bounce out. The Georgia not being in at the time, right. And I was like, just wait.
It'll come. Do you agree with this week for the most part?
Yeah.
Ish.
I mean, well, again, I think you can have, like Hodge brought up SMU, still being right on the outside, but now, Boise is in the top 12, so they're not just getting in because they're the highest ranked non-power.
But they would have been getting in anyway.
I know, but I'm saying like that does. Someone else can be like, oh, we got snow.
Well, that's the other thing that.
Right.
Again,
but they will. No matter how many people.
And again, I'm pro. Obviously, there's some things that ESPN does I'm not a fan, but for the most part, I'm an ESPN fan. But I just wish the rankings would match the bracket. Like this is the bracket. This is the way it is, because if, like you said, if Boise was ranked, morning Clay, morning Billy, morning Mom, if Boise State was ranked 107, and that's the highest ranked non-group of four or power four, they're in. So just let your rankings match.
But I think it's all about making money, and they have to make their weekly, college football championship playoff bracket reveal show have some sort of something to talk about, but
swag.
The swag.
I
also find it funny
swag.
that ESPN on their app after the weekend, before they have their release of the playoffs on their show, they take the rankings down. You can't even find last week's rankings. You have to wait till the new release, because when you go to the app, if you go to rankings, right now the college football playoff is the first drop down. On Monday, it doesn't exist.
Dog.
Peter.
I know, that was a weird name.
Welcome back to the Hodge Pack. We're sports life and everything in between. And we caught a little in between while ago talking about the CMA Awards and how country music is starting to sound like country music. I don't know about y'all. I was a little disappointed that Zach Top didn't get to sing. Have y'all heard him?
Yes, I like him.
Yes.
Big fan. I mean, he's 25, 27 years old, and sounds like he should have been playing in 1992 at our prom, or something like that, or back in the day. But yes, they're starting to sound a little more country, which I'm a fan.
Mm-hmm.
The performances that I liked, of course, I'm a fan of George Strait. Now, let me rephrase it. I like the song that George Strait and Stapleton sang, the Honky Tonk Hall of Fame or whatever. Yeah. And Amarillo Morning's obviously one of his best. Troubadour is like the modern day Cowboy Rides Away. I was disappointed in that they didn't pick any other great George Strait songs. They picked Just Give It Away, which I know Jamie Johnson wrote.
Right.
But I'm like, because what was funny, I saw all this long hair coming out, and I thought, oh, they brought in Dean Dillon. Of course, the shot was from way up here. Sorry, but it was Miranda Lambert. So my apologies to Dean or Miranda, whoever wants to take that apology. But the country music is starting to sound like it, which is funny. So the other night, and again, go to PotosiLive.com, get all their tickets, and when they have great events. They had dueling pianos a few weeks ago, and Tracy and I went, and they played Chicken Fry by Zach Brown. And it made me wonder, because a lot of people say in pop country, I don't think Kane Brown is country, Florida Georgia Line, and all those things. So I threw out there, what is country music? Or when did it die? Or when did it change? Or when did it do whatever? And a lot of people said the 90s country.
But Chicken Fry?
Well, but Chicken
that
Fry,
was
no,
later.
that's what I'm saying. That was later. But when people had their vote, and I put it on my personal page, I should have put it on the Hodge Pack page. So when would you say that? I mean, we're going to get to college football pretty soon, but.
Well, I mean, what I find interesting is if you go back to the 90s with the Garth Brooks and,
Brooks and
Dunn, there are several others. They just left me. But anyway, doesn't matter. Joe Diffie, all of that time frame. At that time, I remember some older people saying, like, well, this stuff isn't country. And I thought it was, and then you flash forward to the 2000s. And I think that, like, when Blake Shelton, kind of started doing some non-country kind of stuff. But I really think, like, Jason Aldean, when he started doing, like, rapping in the country music, opened the door for, like, just rappers to be country music artists, which, it's fine. You can do what you want. But that was a weird, like, transition.
Yeah.
So I just looked up Chicken Fried, and it came out in 2005.
So
around early 2000s,
the
game, so almost 20 years ago, the game changed.
Yeah, and I think that's what happened. And now Josh is mentioning it, it's starting to come back. Because to me, now he started here, Cody Johnson. We got Hank Jr. vote by Dr. Lynn Lawon, another Aggie that will be has been a guest picker, and now we've got Dr. Ellis, Larry Ellis picking. But you start seeing that coming back, like Cody Johnson to me is country.
Yes,
I mean,
love him.
And so anyway, it's just interesting. But my favorite part, and again, the Believe was, I mean, there were people crying in the audience artist. And my favorite part about the Country Music Awards is when people are singing or the performing up on stage, and then they show the artist in the crowd, they're singing along like we do as fans.
Yes.
That's my favorite part of it. And now you got Shabuzi, which I'm not sure that's country, with the Tipsy song.
Yeah.
I like that
it's a fun song.
Oh, it's a fun song, but
Yes.
it's a fun song, but I don't know if it'd have made it in 1999 or 94.
No.
But
it would have just been a pop song or something else. I mean, but then you have like Post Malone, who's gone country and actually sings older sounding, more country stuff than a lot of the country artists.
But I'm gonna tell you, we're gonna get to college football next. I promise, people. Actually, y'all may really like this country stuff. I think it's funny because I think you see I'm not saying they're all country artists are all wholesome, but I think you see the different values, the different things that country music comes with, and the normal fan base that it comes with, that you start seeing. Look at Hootie. I mean, Darius Rucker leaves and gets into the country music world. Sheryl Crow kind of got dipped into country music. The people that do the collaborations with Thomas Rhett. I didn't know who the Sweaty guy or whatever that guy was. Didn't know who that was. Is that what his name? Sweaty? I don't know.
I don't know.
Sweet. I don't know. We'll look up.
Yeah,
But
I must have missed that.
But then you got Post Malone coming into it as well. So anyway, CMA's big fan.
And then whatever that was going on with that Bailey Zimmerman or whatever his name was.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
I wasn't either, but it was like, what is, like, they're playing beer pong on the stage and some guy was like dancing on a four-wheeler. I don't
I'm
understand.
gonna have to look that up because I actually like Bailey Zimmerman.
You need to watch that video because it was hilarious.
Well, and that's the other thing.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up.
The other thing about it is each one of those people that perform, I mean, they turn that stage into what probably, I don't know what their concert is.
Oh, right.
But they transform it. And the CMAs is one I would love to go to because it's always in Nashville. But anyway, one of the things that's not in Nashville is the national championship, and no NFL, no NCAA team from Nashville will be in the playoffs. The new rankings came out last week. BYU, oh my goodness. Thank you for making the Big 12. I put it in the rundown. Rock Chalk Jayhawk ruined Big 12 too. There is no way the Big 12 is getting two teams in.
Oh, no, not a chance.
BYU loses to Kansas. Kansas played in Spoiler. Has a chance to be Spoiler again against the Buffaloes as Colorado will play them. So what was your thoughts this week? And then the other question I gave you is how many teams do you think actually can win the national championship? Misty, we'll let you roll.
I'm going to say 5. And my 5, based on the rankings this week, I'm going to go Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Alabama, Georgia, and then I've got Ole Miss as my dark horse. So
Okay.
I will say 5.
You
out
think
of the
5 of those actually can win
Can
the
win.
national championship?
Right, and then Ole Miss is on a little bit on the outside as my dark horse.
So they would be your 6th.
Yeah,
And who are your 5 again?
Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Alabama, and Georgia.
Yep, and skipping Penn State and Indiana. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yours?
Mine are actually basically the same. I mean, I think that we'll see how it kind of shakes out as the season goes on with the SEC and the Big Ten. There are a lot of good teams in there, but there's still games to be played head to head. So that'll shake up the rankings a little bit. But yeah, I think I agree with Misty completely that those, Oregon, Ohio State already played once, and it was a very good game. So that could go either way. If they were to play again. So, yeah, that's a tough question, but I do think, and I don't put Georgia in that just because they kind of got exposed a little bit, and their offense hasn't been able to do it when they needed to.
But they did it last week.
Right.
Well, they did
last week.
And that's why I have them in my top 5. Because
And not only did they do it last week,
they're still Georgia.
Their losses are to Alabama and Ole Miss. Their win is at Texas.
Right.
I mean that is a huge win, and Tennessee.
Well,
And they destroyed Tennessee.
I also think that's what that showed, that kind of chink in the armor, if you will, of Texas, because that they couldn't stop that pass rush that Georgia had. So can Texas step up in a big game, in a big matchup, and be able to protect the quarterback? So I mean,
well, and I start looking at it, and the other thing is they put a big deal in the past of conference championships meaning something. Well, Indiana, to me, this weekend, Indiana has the opportunity. If you ever wanted to be Googled, as their coach likes to say, Google me, I win. This is a huge deal because let's say they play Indiana close. I mean, Ohio State close. On the road, let's say they lose by a field goal or even by a touchdown. Well, they're no longer going to be in the Big Ten championship. It's going to be Ohio State and Oregon, unless Michigan beats Ohio State, and I don't see that happening. So now, Indiana, that if they can play them close, they're going to be guaranteed probably a slot in the top 12.
Right, because they'd have one loss to a number 1, 2 team, depending on how that all shakes out, and so your resume is very strong.
And then if Ohio State beats them, gets into the Big Ten championship, loses another close game against Oregon, should they stay in? Because now they've got they'll have 2 losses,
they'd have 2
both
losses,
against
both
Oregon,
to
to the number
Oregon.
1 team in the country.
But and yes, I think that probably should mean you could get to the playoffs, but that would also kind of tell everybody, like, well, this other team's better than you.
Yeah, you're not going to win the national championship.
But beat somebody 3 times would be almost impossible.
It's hard to beat somebody 3 times.
Exactly.
So I look at it, I think Oregon has a chance to win it. But Oregon, again, Camp Randall and playing at Wisconsin's tough, but they didn't just destroy Wisconsin last week. I think Oregon can win it. I think the top 3 can win it. We're going to find out how good Indiana is this week. Notre Dame, all right, you can look. I've got games circled. I have Indiana and Ohio State not circled for our picks, and Army and Notre Dame. Because I want so bad. I love the men and women that fight for our country. I love our military men and servicewomen. I want so bad Army to win this week. And so I don't know if I use my terrible picking to pick them, or should I pick Notre Dame so they don't have a chance.
Do you want Notre Dame completely
I want gone.
out?
I want
Out
Notre
of
Dame
12?
gone. I want Notre Dame
Out
gone. Yes.
of the 12.
I want Notre Dame gone. Join a conference. Yes.
No, I get it.
I want Notre Dame gone.
Well, and obviously the bad loss that Notre Dame has, it's like, how do you really judge that when they do have a quality win against Texas A&M, but like their overall schedule just doesn't have the same, pizzazz.
Stanford several. I mean, their 2 best wins are A&M to kick everything off. Elko's first game, all those things. It was at A&M. And then they beat Louisville, who was 15 at the time. I mean, Louisville was pretty good. Louisville beat Clemson. But the Navy win, it looked like Navy wasn't that great. And then now they've got Army this week and finished with a terrible USC team that was the hype for all things. And Lincoln Riley going to be the next coach of the Cowboys. He can't find a way to win at USC, which is the level of the Cowboy level at in the college world when it comes to programs. And so, anyway, I want Notre Dame gone.
Yeah, I mean, their strength of schedule is definitely laughable,
right,
compared to everybody else.
And you could argue that and I do that win at College Station is a quality win, but then when you follow that up with just like a poor loss, it's like how do you rectify that?
Yeah.
So
how are they number 6?
And I'll tell you. So here's the other question. And I think they'll be good enough. They got to stay healthy. Good, I put it in assist. They got to stay healthy. But as important as Indiana and Ohio State is, I don't think it's important as far as Indiana showing themselves. But the most important game on the schedule this weekend for ratings, for the playoff, for everything about it is Kansas, Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 100%.
Can Colorado go into Arrowhead if that's where they're playing this week? I think Kansas has been bounced playing. Can go into Arrowhead, win that game, and then be sure you don't mess up against Oklahoma State. But then again, they're in a prime example that they're going to have to play in the college. They're going to have to play in the Big 12 championship, which gives them
another chance to lose a game.
Another chance to lose a game against a BYU team, most likely, who's coming off their loss to Kansas. So anyway, I think
Kansas is playing really good. So
they're playing Kansas is playing the way we thought they were going to play all year long. Because again, remember when we first started talking about the 12-team playoff, ESPN's power rankings had the Kansas Jayhawks with the best chance to make the playoffs. And then it's like they said, man, we're not going to play very good. Oh, let's try to play now, like it was a second semester grade, to start playing well. And so I just think it's going to be fun. SMU still undefeated in the ACC, 2 games left. Miami, that's another one. I'm hoping Miami. Cam Ward was in the running. It's Cam Ward's Heisman Trophy to win and to lose, and he lost it a couple weeks ago. And then now they've got Syracuse is probably they're not. I don't see them losing to Wake Forest. Syracuse will be the opportunity where they could lose, but then SMU needs to run the table, win the ACC, and who'd have thought that the death penalty that didn't last as long as the death would have lasted would be having a chance and being the team in Texas that we're talking about. Not anybody in the Big 12, but talking about Texas, Texas A&M, and, of course, now SMU Mustangs. When we come back, we're going to look at Week 11. Dallas Cowboys. I put this in the rundown when we come back. Dallas Cowboys status and how would Misty and Josh describe the 2024 season for the Dallas Cowboys. We'll be back right after this.
How are you? Good. So I'm going to look at do y'all still have your list from when we picked the R12?
I think I saved it.
I hope
you
did. I was
hope you
actually.
did.
I probably burned it so that no one could hold it against you.
I was actually going to look and see.
The people I picked, they're
Okay, so I've actually done pretty good.
So you remember yours?
Well, I saved it. So I kept it because I was.
Put it in your pocket or what?
Yeah, I know. Yes. Okay. So I have Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Ole Miss, Notre Dame, Michigan, Penn State. My Florida's.
You're talking about that.
Oh yeah, like when we the first week, whenever or the week before.
Yeah.
Alabama, Utah, and Boise State. So far, I have a decent showing on my picks.
Well,
Yeah, because if I did
felt
good,
like
I gotta use it against y'all. If I do bad, then I'm not gonna bring it up.
I know I picked SMU, but I can't.
I mean, obviously, we can go back and listen to the pod.
The problem with mine is and I'm sure, I don't know if Josh can relate, but Misty, I'm sure, do you ever change purses?
Yes.
That's what I felt like I did with this backpack change. I changed backpacks to take stuff. I took stuff out of my work backpack and put it in this other backpack just to be show stuff. And
Did you transfer everything?
I didn't transfer everything like the, zip drive. but I have a blue notebook that I put everything in.
I like how I made a page on my spreadsheet to put our picks in, but I didn't do it.
That's awesome.
I saw your
From week 1 or from the previous week.
Yeah.
I saw your dad yesterday at there's a where the old Hefs was there in Potosi when you make the curve.
Oh yeah, there's a new
Turtleman's.
Yeah.
Anyway, I went there yesterday and
How
grabbed.
was that? I
It
want
was
to
good.
try
It was
it.
a good hamburger.
Yeah.
Your parents were in there with another couple, and I said, "Hey, Greers," and he goes, "Hey, Ryan." I'm surprised he said Ryan, not Hodge. Anyway, he goes, "Man, the only one I think the only one doing worse in picks this year than me is you." I was like, "Great, thanks, Mr. Greer."
Oh, that's awesome.
Papa Greer talking crap. Yeah, he goes, "I think the only one doing worse in picks this year is you." I was like, "Well, thanks."
I was happy that Katie and I tied. That was great.
Well, she goes, I texted her that screenshot and I said, "Hey, we tied." And Katie goes, "I thought we picked the same. How? I thought you changed one." And I look back, I moved from Baylor to West Virginia.
Yeah, you and I both did because I had Baylor originally, which I'm like, dang it, I was kicking myself when that game played out. But I switched so that we could be opposite Katie and Josh. But it worked out. I was like, I'll take a tie with my boss. That's great.
Yeah, you can't beat her.
No, I mean, I can't demolish her. Then I don't want her to demolish me. So it worked out.
Yeah, Larry, we do this every Friday.
It's a fun way to start the day for sure, and end the week.
Yeah, we don't make her Curb Street money. Somebody said, "You have fun with it?" I said, "Yeah." So we haven't figured out how to make it a full-time gig yet.
Yeah. But the new dog seems to be like, did you see like the footage of Peter on the field?
Yeah.
His new dog.
Yeah. So that was cool, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Went to the game Monday night,
Yes, I saw
and
that.
I got to
I
see
laughed at your post. You're like, Mark's safe. That was funny.
I got to see a lot of the Monday Night Countdown crew. Laura and I got to connect a little bit, but then I got chosen to do the WinStar thing.
Yeah, I saw that.
And so they tell you the answer.
Spoiler alert.
Which is good because you don't want to look stupid in front of 100,000 people and get it
right.
wrong.
I mean,
Everyone
let's
looks
be
stupid.
real.
I mean, y'all do. Y'all want that person to look stupid. And I didn't want a person. I do that on my
I
own.
always hope for like
I
the easiest question ever that someone still does it.
Yeah.
But
Or they just say it like they blank out and
Mhm.
don't know what it was when you just told them.
who's the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys?
Bringing the action to you. The action is happening all across the big country and all across the state of Texas as Texas high school football continues to roll with the playoffs. Some teams, unfortunately, have gone on to basketball and other things. But a couple that are moving on to the next round are the Jayton Jaybirds winning 60-8 over Blackwell. Stanford moving on 49-13 over Panhandle. And the Anson Tigers season, again, unfortunately, comes to an end. Played Post really tough, losing to Post 42-35. Appreciate the Anson Tiger football being on the airwaves at 106.9 all year long. And congratulations to Coach McCombs and the Anson Tigers on a good year. Teams that are not having a good year are the Dallas Cowboys and both teams in New York as we dive into some NFL talk. While we have Josh here, the NFL, a couple things that happened over the week. Kansas City, put in the rundown. The Miami Dolphins Champaign opening was able to happen. Unfortunately, some of those guys are no longer with us. I remember there was always that clip and picture of them getting together and, opening the bottle of champagne, that they're the only undefeated Super Bowl era wire-to-wire team. Kansas City losing to Buffalo. But does this mean anything? Why do you think I put that, Misty, as a Bills Mafia almost part of it? I think the only way you can is you got to jump through a table, but we can make that happen.
I mean, I was so excited. I do love the Chiefs, but I was so excited that the Bills won because y'all know I have an obsession with Josh Allen, and it's no secret. So that made me really happy. Does this mean anything? That game specifically, I'm not really sure why you asked that, but to me, no. I mean, there's two great teams. This matchup is always like this every time they play for the most part. There's a lot of season left, so no reason to overreact. So to me, no. I mean, it was just a great game, both sides of the ball. and that's how they always play. And so to me, no, I don't know what you meant by that, but to me, it does not mean anything.
Josh, do you understand why I asked that question?
No, I do not.
Okay. Do you? Okay.
Like just that Casey can be beaten? I mean, I don't know.
I'm going to tell you why it means nothing.
Okay.
It doesn't mean anything. It means nothing. Because until Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills do that in the playoffs, it's just a game.
Yeah.
Yes, it's big that they beat Kansas City. Yes, it's big that Kansas City is no longer going to go undefeated. Miami Dolphins, Larry Zonka, Papa Top on the campaign. It doesn't mean anything because until you do it in the playoffs and leave Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce and the rest of the Kansas City Chiefs out of the Super Bowl, until you do that, I'm not impressed. And that's why I said it's a great win. I mean, it's a win.
It felt like I was watching a playoff game, though. Like, I don't know. A lot of times when they play, it's like that intensity.
And that's why I like the 12-team playoff. One, we have plenty to talk about. We got tons of teams that we think that are in, not in. We're still talking about it. Is because now if Oregon and Ohio State play, or Clemson and Georgia, even though Clemson's gone a wayside, those top programs can play during the year, and then you can lose and still win the championship. Up until this past Sunday, the last team that beat the Chiefs were the Raiders, who are terrible, but one day it happened, just like on Little Giants. You remember that one time? And that's what took place. So my whole thing about not meaning anything is that until Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow is the only one that's really done it besides Tom Brady that has said, you know what, Kansas City, you're staying home this year for the Super Bowl. And so until that happens, I just don't think it means anything. Congratulations, good job, but you're going to have to do it in a few weeks if you face them again.
Okay, I disagree with one aspect.
Only one. I feel pretty good then.
Because overall,
because usually the list is long.
I agree with the premise, and to your point, they always, it's cliche, but any given Sunday, as you mentioned, the Raiders beat
which
them.
Is a terrible sports movie, by the way.
It's awful, but it's still, and that notwithstanding, and now I lost my place.
Now he agrees with everything.
No, I remember. It does have the implication that if KC loses another game and Buffalo rides it out, then Buffalo would get that home playoff game against the Chiefs and not go to Arrowhead, which I think would be good for their chances at the aforementioned making them stay home for the Super Bowl. Because that was one of the things I thought about. They were playing in Buffalo. It's definitely different playing Kansas City, as we've seen in the playoffs. Sometimes, that last year was, really cold there, and their fans are loud and insane, much like the Buffalo Bills fans are, and it's going to be terribly cold in Buffalo, obviously. But having that home field advantage in the playoffs could be the difference. And if they would have lost to them last week, there would have basically been no way for that to happen.
Yeah, I think the home field advantage is the big thing for them.
That's huge, yeah.
So that stuff happened. Mention New York, and then we're going to get to the Cowboys. The New York Jets fired Joe Douglas, their general manager, just about a month after they fired Robert Saleh. Rumor was that Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets, wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers week 4. Saleh and those guys were against it, and ultimately cost his job. And then now the GM's gone. Daniel Jones, who's always been the guy that we went to first before all these other people were getting $55 million, was Daniel Jones getting the $40 million contract. He's now been bumped not to the backup. He's the third guy. Probably won't even be active. Gave a big apology yesterday. And for a guy that I thought had a decent little blip, when you lose Saquon, everything's with it. So Daniel Jones will be somewhere new next year, and Aaron Rodgers most likely will either be out of the NFL or be somewhere new next year. And you talk about a career that is starting to become, and this is kind of, and Dr. Ellis is in the room. He'll kind of maybe, I don't know if he'll agree. Josh, he didn't agree, so we'll see if he does later. In that Aaron Rodgers is becoming the Phil Mickelson who left for the Live guy.
It's
In that he's gone. I mean, everybody, hey, Aaron Rodgers, you're the focal point. You do all this stuff. Phil Mickelson, you're the thumbs up guy. Everybody loves you. You're the Arnold Palmer fan. And then all of a sudden, now you go to the Live and people forget you. Aaron Rodgers is doing the same as well. So New York is having some rough outings.
He has hurt himself, and his legacy is definitely tarnished because of really just maybe a refusal to just accept the truth. But here's the thing: it is a fact that to be an elite athlete to the level that Aaron Rodgers has, and to have the career that he has, you have a confidence that normal humans can't comprehend.
Right.
And if you're in that spot, it's very hard to be like, yep, it's time for me to step away.
But the other thing, and again, I want to get into the Cowboys because we've got Misty's back coming up next, is when he went to New York before the injury, 4 plays in, he seemed like the leader that you wanted him to be. Everybody was rallying around, hey, we're here, we're doing all these things. And then literally like, just crazy. So anyway, all right. Yeah, not there, Aaron Rodgers. All right, Dallas Cowboys, you can hear it right here on 106.9 at Country Giant. Heading up to Washington to play the Commanders, 12 o'clock kickoff. Not a big fan of those. That's why you can I'm just not a big fan of the 12 o'clock kickoff. All right, so Misty, how would you describe the Dallas Cowboys season if you had to describe it in a sentence or an illustration? How would you describe the Dallas Cowboys 2024 season? Ladies first.
Rolling dumpster fire. 3 words.
Which could be a T-shirt. You're probably gonna make a killing.
Yeah, with the big star right in the middle.
On fire.
On fire.
Yeah, on fire. I think just
for the record, copyright 11/22. Don't steal that.
Yes. Yeah.
I doubt you're going to get the licensing to make that shirt. Don't see Jerry approving that.
Well, it could be it's like McDowell's on Coming to America. It wasn't McDonald's, it was McDowell's. You just make that star just a little bit different.
Jerry's approving worse, so maybe.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
All right. I got rolling dumpster fire, Josh.
I think if like you could imagine the team bus is stalled on a railroad track and you're trying to get everyone off the bus before
the train
hit by the train.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
And right now it's like there's no way the engine's gonna turn over. Just get off the dadgum bus.
Teetering on the cliff, and you got to get off or you're going over.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Because the wheels are off and there is just no redeeming factor.
You remember?
I actually watched last week. Molly plays basketball on Monday night, so I was not forced to watch the entire game. But when I got home, I watched the back end of it,
which was the worst part of the game.
Yeah.
And it was almost.
I lived it. I was there.
It was almost like I've moved to this point where it was like I was watching a comedy skit and I wanted to see like the slapstick.
Right.
This is our chance to get like right there, 50-yard line, right there on the field tickets because nobody's going to pay to see this.
Well, that's the thing. And that I was thinking about this because Atlanta and I had this conversation earlier in the year, pre-football season, approaching football season. We're thinking for Christmas, let's get Cowboys tickets and we'll take the family to the Cowboys game. The kids would love that and it'll be great. So we started looking into it, and I was like, man, that is terribly expensive. Let's think about it. Then, kind of things went along. I never got around to it. And then, fast forward to now, it's like, it made me think, because I've seen that tickets have gone way down in price. You could go for much cheaper. Maybe you just go for the experience. I don't know. I don't think so. But I was thinking about how many people that were in a similar situation that we were, that were like, let's plan a family trip to the Cowboys game. Let's, save up our vacation money and pile it all into this. And now this is what you get.
They're changing it.
You bought them at peak high. Everyone's excited about the first of the season.
Christmas
and
is
now it's like, and you're like,
and the Grinch
you can't sell them because you just lose money.
You're a Grinch.
The Grinch stole it, and his name is Jerry. So here's my description, and I can relate to it, is when I was in high school, I was not very big. And I was a basketball player, but I was okay. I mean, I played. I was on varsity and all that, but I was a skinny guy. And one of the things that we did not do was lift a lot of weights. Some guys did, but I was little and I was weak. I was like, I didn't want to be embarrassed, so I didn't. And what the Cowboys are, they remind me of me in that I want to be deep down. You look at them and like they could, because here's the deal. Everybody's like, man, they need a tank. I'm like, they could try really, really hard and give it all they got, and it's still not going to be enough. And that's me. You can put the 45 plates on the bar, and I could want to do it, but I'm going to probably cave in my chest or hit me in the face. And so my point is that's where we are, is that they want to do it. They want to be there, and the Cowboys want it. But right now, the team is not good enough to beat the people in front of them. No. And then my other analogy, and then we're going to go to commercial and come back and do Misty's bag, is it's like having to go to your dad or your granddad or your grandmother or mom that's elderly and say, Mom, I know everything you got is going good. Your wit's there, everything's fine, but you're at the age where we need to take the keys.
Yeah.
You're no longer, we don't need you to drive. You're not safe driving. Other people aren't safe driving.
Can you tell Jerry that?
That's my point. Dad, Steven needs to go up to Jerry and say, hey, Dad, you're spending money great. You're making money great. But we need you to not be the GM anymore.
Surely he's doing that, right? Like, surely.
But
I don't think it matters.
But that's the thing. But that's my point. That is my point.
That goes right to what I was talking about with Aaron Rodgers. Like you're dealing with people that have confidence beyond what a normal human has. There's no. And I'm not saying his confidence is justified. I feel like Aaron Rodgers was at one point, but
yeah.
Like you can't understand how much confidence he has.
And that's my point. The same conversation that we have with that elderly person that you've got to take the keys from.
Yeah, they won't let it go.
They want their independence, and Jerry's independence is the train, is the bus on the track. When we come back, hopefully Misty's bag won't be that train that hits us. We'll be back.
I need to get out of here by like 8:20 at the absolute latest. So
okay.
If I have to leave my picks with the other people, then
oh gosh. So, are you going to eat some deviled eggs next week, Hodge?
Next.
He still owes me a deviled egg from the bet last year.
oh yeah.
Remember? I have not forgotten. So you're over there laughing, but it will be taking place at some point. Because I won that bet. What was the bet? But I just know that I won it.
I think it's if they got the monument.
Oh, yeah. It's like if they, yes. That's right. Yeah. So it will be happening. I need to just bring one, but that's the point. Like a deviled egg this early isn't, we're going to have to meet at Cork and Pig for lunch one day because they have pretty good deviled eggs.
I'm trying to remember the other day. I'm trying to remember what the occasion was.
Like it is a staple Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, and I love them.
Yeah, like Clay. I mean, he would be so upset if I
it
did
was
not
like the
make
Friendsgiving.
them.
There were like 2 different plates of deviled eggs, 2 different people brought, so I had to like compare them, not tell the person that I liked theirs less. It's like, those were very good.
So Megan and I are identically dressed for team pictures today.
Welcome back to the Hodge Pack, sports life and everything in between. We're glad that you're with us this morning. Lots to cover, lots to do. We got our picks. Dr. Larry Ellis will be our guest picker. Played at Texas A&M. We'll get his thoughts on A&M Texas being back. But now it's time for our brought to you by Mulligan's. What you got in that bag?
Okay, so a few things about Mulligan's. I don't know if y'all saw this big announcement, but for the first time, they are opening at 3:00 on Thanksgiving Day. So I was kind of surprised. I was like, wow, but then it makes sense because football and all the TVs and all the things.
Yeah.
So they are opening at 3:00 on Thanksgiving.
And I'm going to tell you the other thing that makes perfect sense for that is, let's face it, and not to get weird, but like there's a lot of people that holidays is a struggle.
Very much so, yeah.
They're by themselves. Their family's away. Their family's passed on. They don't like their family.
They need a break from
They
their
need
family
that.
by
They need
3
a
o'clock.
break. Yes, I will hang out with you for the Lions game, but not the Cowboys. I'm out. And so pretty smart on.
I'm out.
That's pretty good on Kyle's part. So,
I mean, not gonna lie, I may show up. I may be there. I don't know.
Clay, you got it on your own. See ya.
But no, I just thought that was very clever and smart. And like you said, a lot of people maybe they don't have anything going on. So yeah, super cool that they're.
Or they
doing
got
that.
too much going on and sit them out.
Yeah. Yes. So all right. So I'm hoping that y'all did not see this question from the music awards that we were talking about.
Oh.
But this is where this question came from. This
Okay.
question was asked to the artist, and I saw it on TikTok, and someone asked
Which
y'all.
makes it true, yeah.
Yeah, you know. So besides sports, what's a topic you know way too much about? Like, kind of like useless knowledge. Maybe you're embarrassed to admit you know this much about this particular subject.
I don't know.
This was asked, and several artists had to.
As part of the red carpet.
I think it was maybe afterwards. I don't really know if it was before or after, but I just saw a couple of people's answer.
I would say maybe either a combination of sports trivia, which has.
That's sports.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's why I inserted besides sports.
But I think honestly, what's dumb, and obviously this is not going to be shocking, the fact that I'm about to say something dumb.
What is that music?
I don't know.
Sounds like Christmas.
It's like, is Santa already here? I know him.
It got quiet. I was like, what is going on?
Well, I felt like there's a music box playing in my ear, and it's y'all, but then I feel like other things
We
are
all
happening.
heard it at the
I
same
know.
time.
It's like,
Because Hodge got quiet
well, yeah.
for the first time. in
Hey,
forever.
maybe we're back in Chuck E. Cheese and we're being talked to, but is remembering lines from movies or like Saved by the Bell. What's weird is I can watch Seinfeld or Saved by the Bell and remember all that kind of junk. That means nothing.
So Saved by the Bell.
Have you ever thought? Because I've thought about this. Does your brain have just a certain amount of bandwidth that you're like you can remember this stuff, but like you have to shove some other stuff out?
It's
like
your zip drive is full.
Yeah. So
You need to delete something.
'cause
Yes,
I've thought
100%.
about that because I'm like, I think that I have way too much. Well, sports, like Rangers trivia and stuff, there's way too much. I used to read baseball cards when I was a kid, and for some reason, just like could spout off stats. Like
Y'all are both
like,
very good at that.
Um,
It's insane.
But then I've wondered, like, is there like important stuff that I should remember about? I don't know, like advanced finance or something that I just like pushed out of the side of my brain, and
For
now
the
it's like
Rangers.
I don't know what that ratio means, but I do know, but. So I don't know.
I do know that
but-
Greg Maddox was born in San Angelo.
Yes.
It's on the back of his baseball card.
7:01 p.m.
But
We're
something
size
that-
12.
So that would go into this same thing, is kind of like Hodge was talking about, random songs, like lyrics to random songs.
Oh,
People-
100%.
People say something that makes me instantly think of this song that has a lyric that is similar, or just whatever. And so that's probably what I would say. Just like music, song lyrics that take up way too much brain's limited bandwidth.
So mine, I think, well, a while ago we did it where I said Santa, and he knew it, and he says I know him
Yeah.
because that's an elf reference.
Yes.
And so yeah, we're on the same wavelength here. But so I don't think that this is necessarily embarrassing, but something
I
that
don't know if it's embarrassing.
Necessarily.
We'll let you know.
Yeah, you don't get to decide that.
So I get a little obsessed about certain movies. Like, okay, when A Star Is Born came out with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper, I watched it. I loved it. I thought it was impressive because every time that they're singing, I don't know if y'all know this, but they are live. It is live every single time.
Walk the Line, Walking Phoenix, and Reese Witherspoon were the same.
But yeah, like every take, they did it live so that you could feel it or whatever. So after I watched it, I started like going down this rabbit hole where I started researching and all the behind the scenes of A Star Is Born. And I don't know, if I get obsessed with a movie, then I'm like, I need to see all the post interviews, all the pre interviews. I need to see the behind the scenes, how it was directed, who directed it. It's a problem. And now the reason I'm bringing this up is because I'm going to see Wicked tonight, and I am falling into the same trap. And I've been researching all the things about Wicked, and y'all, Wicked, yes, it's somewhat related, obviously, to the Wizard of Oz, but it is so complex, and it could be a whole class. But I'm just saying, I'm having a problem. I'm getting obsessed with these like movies, and the witch, in Wicked, does all her own stunts, and she sings live every time. And she's like literally flying through the air, and it's her, and she's singing, and she was talking about how she had to like change her breathing and train herself. I don't know. I just think it's incredible.
I'm quoting Fat Guy in a Little Coat.
She's talking about movie directors.
She's talking about the breathing that comes in and out.
It's so crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, that is good stuff. That is a great question. And be sure you head to Mulligan's on Thanksgiving Day at 3 o'clock if you need to get away from your family. Get it away from your family not so fast. We're going to be back with picks and let the Aggie tell us about UT and A&M coming back together again.
Oh.
All right. I was late to my meeting last week, so I can't do it this week. I know. You can only make up so many excuses.
We can fly right through them.
And they keep on saying this Friday meeting is for a limited time, but they keep moving it a little earlier.
All right, Claire, you come on over.
The problem that I'm having is we have a check-in at 8:45, and most of our stuff starts at 9.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, I don't get there till 10:15. So obviously we have pictures today. So I'm like, oh, okay. That's why I told Hodge I may need to dip about 8:45 so that I can actually be there. And so Megan Harris just texted me. She goes, we're literally twins. She was like, I hopped on Facebook and saw you, and we have leather, and we're all wearing black. So.
Oh, I thought you said she was like, and I'm a fan of Wicked.
Well,
this is how she breathes.
Obviously.
I saw one commercial for that. It's like, oh, I'm watching that.
I'll begin to go with Tracy.
I am a fan, but we watched, like, Wizard of Oz was one of my mom's favorite movies, and so we had to watch it a lot up. And so it's a little ode to my mom because of the Wizard of Oz.
I still like it.
Yeah.
I have a ingrained memory of the Wizard of Oz because I would watch it at the Paramount when I was a child.
Oh, that would have been cool.
And the flying monkey hurt me so bad. Underneath the chair.
A lot of people do that. All right, so, but Larry, you'll have that. Misty, hook him up, and then y'all will share.
Yeah, you're good.
The flying monkeys gave me nightmares for weeks. It's kind of embarrassing.
That's funny.
No, I don't know how it was. I just remember being a little kid and that scaring me so bad.
That is really funny. I don't know. It does amaze me, like how they can do all these stunts. I don't know. It's just the production of movies is just fascinating to me. I don't know. I'm kind of a geek about it.
It's one of those things that sometimes I don't notice when like you're watching a show, but then you'll see something later like, oh, we did this to make this happen. And you're like, oh.
Or like in Gladiator 2. Did y'all see that? I loved Gladiator. Same thing. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be musical. Although Star Is Born and Wicked are both very musical, but like even Gladiator, just the production is wild.
They do ride rhinoceros. So that's cool.
Yeah,
That's totally real. That's totally real, right?
Oh, you didn't know it is time for our fat guest picker in our football challenge, and Pick'em challenge is happening and rolling. We're getting close to declaring a new champion because based on what your dad talking trash yesterday at the burger joint, he's not going to be the defending champion, but it may still go to a Greer, right?
Well, it's looking there.
All right. Molly?
Yes, Molly is currently beating me by. So hopefully I make a move.
So this week is big. But each week we bring in a guest picker. And honestly, we were, very rarely do you make the breakfast group. And that last Saturday when you were talking about playing A&M and the story about the Arkansas, of course, remember, we can't tell them exactly what they told you on air because FCC wouldn't like it. But joining us in studio, Dr. Larry Ellis, and we were talking about it, and you going down memory lane with Webb and all that. Appreciate you being here this morning.
Well, thanks for having me.
And then Monday I was at the game, and my wife, her cousin Brooke, is over the alumni of the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. Well, Monday night was the alumni night, and they had their weekend. And so was able to be on the field. Appreciate Potosi Live and VIP Getaway. Be sure you hook up with them if you ever need to go to a Cowboy game. So when I'm coming up and I'm walking around trying to find a place to hang out and watch the game before I go to the seat, and I run into all these glittering T-shirts, and I'm like, hey, is Brooke Alexander here? And this one lady goes, I'm going to go check and find her. Well, the other lady was Debbie.
Yeah.
And Debbie looks at me like, I said, oh, you're Debbie. And she goes, do you know the Henningtons? I said, a little bit. I'm married to one. But anyway, so Larry's wife was part of the celebration on Monday night. And so, but anyway, retired, now play a lot of golf and do. And so what's your thoughts? Well, first of all, tell us about getting to play at A&M.
Well, it was really one of the highlights of my life for sure. Came out of a little small school in East Texas, school called Troop.
Yeah.
About 9 miles from Tyler, about the size of Anson.
Really good at basketball during a stretch.
Yep, really good. And so it was, I actually walked on in high school 4 games into my junior year, and then I ended up walking on at A&M, and it all worked out.
And got to play for Gene Stallings.
Right.
And what was that?
And Emory Ballard.
Oh, wow.
It was a great experience for both of them.
So what's your thoughts of the rivalry that's coming back next Saturday?
I think it's great. I wish it had come back 4 or 5 years ago when our chances of winning were a little better.
Well, I mean, they're playing at home, and I mean, you can't really ask for a better time for it to come back as the first one to be at Kyle Field.
Well, that's true, and I really like Coach Elko. I think he's going to be really good for our program. But losing Le'Veon Moss, our running back, is huge.
Right.
And we really just don't have a way to replace him. So it's difficult.
Yeah. So do you go back often? Do you talk to former teammates or anything still?
I'm a dreaded 2%er, I suppose, in the fact that I drink the Kool-Aid and I get all fired up, and then I got really crosswise with Jimbo, and I just so I sold my tickets back and said I'm not going back. It's too far to drive and fight that. Right. So now I've resigned myself to watching it on television, and that way if I get mad, which happens frequently.
That's what a lot of Cowboy fans are doing now too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have your own restroom, you know where it's at, and the beverages are probably a lot cheaper, and you don't have to worry about parking.
My dogs don't appreciate it, because when I start yelling, they get upset.
Right, I understand. Well, this weekend you'll have an opportunity, and it's on the games to pick, and so we're going to give Larry a chance to see if he is better than a 6th grader and can beat Molly.
And Katie pulled it out last week. She had 7, so I mean, Molly did have 8, so she didn't beat Molly, but it was a nice run.
Yeah, and I got 7, which I changed from the Baptist to the West Virginia people, and that hosed me, so I don't need to do that.
Same.
Yeah, so game number 1 is, I think, I don't think it's the game of the week for Indiana and the country, but I think for TV ratings, I told you earlier, I think the Kansas-Colorado game is huge. Indiana-Ohio State, I don't have it circled. This is one of those that I want to see success continue and not be a fluke. But who do y'all have?
I've got Ohio State. If it was my pick, if I got to choose who won, I would say Indiana, but I think Ohio State's going to win it.
Yeah, I feel the same. Ohio State.
Well, my problem is I always, I'm bad about picking the way I want it to be as opposed to probably who will win, but I'd love for Indiana to win, so I'm picking Indiana.
All right, you got Indiana. I want Coach Sigeti to continue to be Googled.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go with Indiana too, which means, sorry, Larry, they'll probably have no chance. I've got Indiana. BYU, Arizona State. I think BYU has a chance to probably – they either got to bounce back and say, hey, that was a fluke last week because we still want to get into the Big 12 championship and still have a chance to represent BYU in the Big 12 in the 12-team playoff. But I think Arizona State wins this.
I've got Arizona State also. I think the shine was knocked off BYU, and they're probably going to be a little hungover from that.
I'm just going to go opposite y'all, BYU, although it's going to be really hard to beat them at home.
Go, Misty. I'm with BYU too.
Yeah, they'll probably – well, again, I'm picking them, so I'm picking Arizona State, so it'll be tough. Red Raiders, Oklahoma State, I'm telling you, a team that's lost its luster and an awkward opportunity is not Texas Tech. It's Oklahoma State.
Right.
Oklahoma State was the team that everybody thought, hey, Ollie Gordon, and, I really think you go back to the Big 12 media days when Ollie Gordon didn't show up, had the big issue. I'm going Texas Tech to win that one.
All the way.
Yes, Red Raiders.
Texas Tech.
All right, Texas Tech. Colorado, Kansas. Some people may not like him. I want to see him into the playoff, at least in the Big 12 championship, to give him a chance. I've got Colorado beating Kansas.
I've got Kansas.
I'm with Hodge. I want to see him in. I know a lot of like him, but I do, so Colorado.
I got to go with Kansas. I don't want him in.
All right, no Dion for Larry. Baylor, Houston. I am going to tell you right now, I'm not going against the Baptists. Turn to in your hymnal to page number 10. How great thou art. I am going Baylor, not going Houston.
Yes, exactly, Baylor.
Baylor.
All right, Baylor. Army, Notre Dame. It's the one I did not have circled yet. I told you I wanted them out. So I'm torn. Do I pick Notre Dame? Pick Army. I love the people that serve our country. I'm going with Army. They're going to actually win. I've got Army.
I've got Notre Dame. I understand what you're saying, though. And that would be fun.
I'm not making you less American by picking them.
Yeah, I love America, but it's a Fighting Irish for me.
The only team I like to see lose more than Texas is Notre Dame. So I got to go with Army.
Yeah, I'm going Army. Yeah. I hope the Fighting Irish can't find their leprechaun. Texas A&M, Auburn. Again, you can hear that Texas A&M game right here on 106.9 The Country Giant. The Aggies trying to continue to roll and not look ahead. I think if you look ahead too much to next Saturday, November 30th, it could be a problem. Auburn's still an SEC team. They're playing at home, but I've got the Aggies winning that one.
Same.
Well, I got to pick my guys. That's going to be a tough game at home with Auburn.
Yeah, you can check them out again. Auburn, A&M right here on 106.9 The Country Giant. Into the NFL, Niners, Packers. Love Purdy. Oh, Purdy not looking as pretty as he was. And so are the 49ers. Not great. Who'd have had Arizona Cardinals leading that division? Who you got?
Packers.
Yeah, I'm going Packers too.
Packers.
Yeah, I've got the Packers at well. That game on Texas A&M and Auburn tomorrow at 6:30. I've got the Packers. Harbaugh Bowl, brother versus brother. Last time we saw this was in the Super Bowl. Chargers are playing well. Justin Herbert's looking good. The Ravens lose last week to the Steelers. I've got the Chargers winning that one. And Daddy Harbaugh's not going because they're going to their daughter's house, I guess, not to tick off one of the brothers or the son. So
I like that. So
yeah,
I've got the Chargers also.
I'm going with the Ravens.
Me as well, Misty. I'm with the Ravens.
All right, got the Ravens. Cowboys, Commanders. I'm telling you, I watched it last week. This literally, Dumb and Dumber, our birds' heads are falling off. Our ceilings are falling. We don't know where the curtains are. We know where the dag sun is what Jerry says. But I don't think there's any chance they can beat the Commanders. I would love to see it happen. But they've got the bar and they can't lift a whole lot.
I'm with you.
Yeah, the Commanders could literally hand us the ball and we'd still find a way to lose. It's the Commanders.
Well, I mean, yeah, Cooper did fumble on his own.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. Every week he
Yeah.
literally just falls down.
Okay, and I know you got to go, and we're going to do this last bit. Would you start Trey Lance?
Yes, it can't be any worse. And if nothing else, you might get something for him if you traded him if he looked decent.
Yeah.
Like
I would start Trey Lance. I've got the Commanders.
I think that's the reason they won't start Trey Lance. They don't want to lose whatever bad. I got the Redskins. No, I mean,
Yeah. Again, we said what we said. Again, we appreciate Larry coming in this morning. When we come back, we'll see. We're going to talk Gino Auriemma. Is he the greatest coach of all time in any sport across the whole thing? We'll talk about that. Again, appreciate you being here. We'll be back right after this.
Take a quick pick, and then we'll get you
All
right.
right.
You got to be careful saying quick pick. That sounds
Quick
weird.
pick. It's a ticket, a lottery ticket.
come on, I gotta hit the road.
Yep. Just turn
Get you the
right
middle
here,
there, Larry.
right
This
here,
one.
Larry.
Yeah.
Yep. Perfect.
All right.
Hey, appreciate you coming in. Yeah, that's fun. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Sorry,
Yeah.
my hands are cold. Nice
Pretty
to
nice.
meet you.
Yes, sir. Hey,
I've got a meeting at 11:30. so
Okay.
I'll be there.
All right. Good luck.
Bye, Josh. Thank you.
What do you have today for luck?
I think maybe smile pretty. I don't know. He's like my dad. Smile pretty, daughter. Yeah, I don't really know, but yeah. Now I'm seriously thinking, do I need to go home and get a different blazer?
Why?
Me and Megan are dressed identically. But I guess we could just put, maybe if one of us is, I'm thinking about the team picture, but then our headshot will be the same.
Headshots on.
But yeah, I'm just thinking there's when we're on the website, but I'm sure.
Maybe you should call Katie and everybody else. They need to wear black.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll figure it out. It is what it is. Okay. So we can just talk about some other coaching grades. What time is it? 8:17. Is Jayton coming in? Does Jayton?
No.
Okay. Okay, let's see. What are y'all doing for Thanksgiving?
We'll be at Tracy's and Uncle.
Okay. Do they live here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool. That's nice that you don't have to travel out of town. Do y'all close like Thursday and Friday at the co-op?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Come on.
What's happening? I'm having issues. I really am surprised the Browns won last night. I don't think anybody saw that coming. Yum, yum.
Don't know that. Don't play the guessing game. Call Coleman County State Bank today and speak to a mortgage expert. They're local and make decisions fast, so you don't miss out on your dream home. CCSB's experienced team will walk you through every step of the mortgage process. Visit ColemanBank.com to make your next move.
Hey, this is Cody with Florida Sports Group. I just want to invite you out this football season every Saturday and Sundays. Come watch your favorite college team on Saturdays on 15 different TVs. Wear any kind of college swag. Receive $10 ticket buckets, $2 domestic drafts. All you have to do is wear a hat or a shirt.
Are you good? Might if I leave after this segment? Like, can you just, I mean, you're like, I used to do this. How long did you do the show solo? Like a few months or longer?
Go ahead and do that. Honestly, I can't remember. That's one of the things that's bad. My memory's terrible. Welcome back to the Hodge Pack as we are rocking and rolling hour number 2, brought to you by Coleman County State Bank. We're glad that you're with us. You hear that song? It's part of Mark Powell's "What I Do" song. It's part of our intro, one of our very first intro to the Hodge Pack. And so, Outlaws and Legends lineup announced last week. Clint Black, your headliner, along with Ella Langley. Ella Langley was on the CMAs. We were talking about that earlier. Had the song "You Look Like You Love Me," and so. Of course, Mark Powell, Wallflowers, Band of Heathens, tons of others. So be sure you get your tickets to Outlaws and Legends March 21st, 22nd as the 14th annual Outlaws and Legends Music Fest will be next weekend, or not next weekend, March 21st, 22nd. So, Misty, we were talking at the beginning of the headline report that Gino Auriemma became the winningest coach of all time in NCAA wins. Winning his 1,217th win, passing longtime Stanford coach Tara Vanderveer, and becoming the GOAT, the winningest coach of all time, which prompted to ask the question, where does Gino fall? Because of, we start thinking greatest coaches of all time. People like Vince Lombardi pop into mind. We get recency bias, Nick Saban, Mike Krzyzewski, Coach K. For those that are curious who Coach Krzyzewski is, that is Coach K. And so we have these great coaches, and there's probably a question in the book by Greeny about coaches. I haven't got that far yet. But you look at the success that Gino has had at UConn for so long. Your thoughts, again, a girl that played basketball in high school, a daughter that's now playing. For so long, Gino and the UConn women Huskies was the standard.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think this question is tough, and I think depending on what maybe your favorite sport is, will determine how you answer the question. Because some people that obviously aren't basketball fans, I mean, unless you live under a rock, you know that UConn's always been great for the most part. But I think that, like for me, I'm a huge Spurs fan. So Greg Popovich is one of the coaches. I mean, he's better than Gino, but I actually was looking up some stats and I had him on my list, that he is the longest tenured active coach in the NBA, as well as all other major sports leagues in the United States. So I think that whenever you ask this question, I immediately thought of Coach Pop. And obviously, Phil Jackson, Pat Summitt, Belichick could be on that list as well. And so for me, yes, he's the winningest coach, but I don't know that I would say of all time of any sport. But I think
okay, so you Mount Rushmore. We always go Mount Rushmore for a lot of things, which there's only 4 faces on Mount Rushmore. Who would be your 4 faces on Mount Rushmore? Because listen to some of the stats of Gino. Not only 1,217 wins, 11 national titles, 6 undefeated seasons, and winning streaks of 98 and 111. Now, Gino, in fact, the last time they won a title, the UConn women won a title, was in 2016, and they went 38-0. And you look since then, they've not won a title. The teams that have won a title since are South Carolina has won it 3 times with Don Staley. Notre Dame won it in 2018, McGraw. Baylor won it in 2019, Coach Kim Mulkey. Tara Vanderveer, the coach that he passed, won in 2021, and Kim Mulkey won it again in 2023, Angel Reese and all that. So the tide has changed a little bit. As far as it used to be UConn against everybody else. Well, now it's South Carolina and everybody else.
Right.
And so the competition of women's basketball is escalated to where now the competition's a lot higher. You've got the transfer portal, which they're using it in women's basketball. We saw when Angel Reese and Kim Mulkey won it, they had almost a whole brand new team than when she came in. And so it's changed a little bit, but what Gino has done in the longevity that he has done and being there and the different people that have gone on to play at the WNBA, Rebecca Lobo, Taurasi, all those great athletes and great Maya Moore. So, but does it hurt him from a Mount Rushmore because of what he coaches? You said, what sport do people like? You went to the NBA and being a Pop fan. So what does your Rushmore look like?
And yeah, I think that's $1 million question, because you could ask this question to 10 different people and probably, I think you might land on maybe 1 or 2.
Who is somebody you think, regardless if we pick the Mall Walkers and the Mall Walkers are sports fans, or you pick Megan, I think, likes sports, Katie pays attention. If you were to ask this today when you're doing your headshots and killing time, and there you go, there's your challenge.
There's
to
my
ask them,
homework.
is there one coach that, regardless of who you ask, that would be etched in that Mount Rushmore?
Gosh, I don't know. I think definitely football. And I don't know if people would say Belichick or even, again, it's the difference of opinion, college versus NFL, what you watch. There's a lot of people that don't watch the NFL and they strictly just watch college. So I don't know. That's interesting. And I will report back, because I'm curious too to see what they would say. But for me, the top 4, I've got to have Pop on that list for me. Greg Popovich definitely would be on that list for me. And if I didn't put Gino, Gino has to be on that list, obviously. Oh gosh, it's tough. Belichick, I would probably put on that list. And then I didn't look up the stats of Phil Jackson. And the other thing is, like, when you have these superstars, you're coaching these superstars, it's really easy to win.
But see, I would disagree with that. As
you're
former
a coach person, so.
But this is why I would disagree with that, because everybody's got stars. Finding a way to get them in the right headspace, to get them in a position, because Kobe and Shaq didn't jive. There was a period where Kobe and Shaq didn't jive, but Phil Jackson found a way to get them together to find a way to win championships or win multiple championships. So I would say that.
Jackson has 11 NBA titles as a coach. So you got to have him on there. So, and then.
But do you think Phil and I would have a hard time having 2 NBA guys on that Rushmore?
And see, for me, I'm a basketball person. So for me, again, it's specific to who you ask, I think. And so for me, I don't have a problem with that. So yeah, I put Greg, Phil, Belichick, and we could even put Gino on there if we wanted to.
So you're putting Popovich.
Yeah, Pop is non-negotiable for me, but that's a personal reason.
But I think Popovich, because of his longevity, would be one that you could actually debate to say, hey, even if you're not an NBA person, even if you're not a basketball person, the longevity, the number of titles that he's won in what many would think is a small marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
He win them in LA.
Right. Yeah.
And I do agree that it takes a great ability to get superstars to play, because you could say, well, Phil won with Michael Jordan. No, yeah, but he did. But he got Michael Jordan to, he got him to play. So, but Phil Jackson does it with Jordan, Kobe, Shaq, those guys. But then in Popovich's case, yes, Tim Duncan's probably the greatest power forward of all time, but found a way to win in San Antonio. And if Ray Allen, if anybody blocks out Chris Bosh in Game 6, it doesn't allow the kick out to Ray Allen to force overtime, he wins another one.
Another one, yeah.
So I don't have a problem with Popovich on there.
I think I'd put Nick Saban on there. So Pop and Nick Saban.
And I think our age also throws in, because I think if we were to ask Larry earlier, Bear Bryant would be up there.
Well, oh my gosh, Don
Shula?
Yes, I mean,
and he's the winningest coach in NFL history.
Right. So yeah, age is. I think you're right. I think age, and again, male-female ratio. There's so many components here. Do you agree? So would you put Saban?
Mm-hmm. Again, as a basketball guy, and here's the other deal. You could, and that's what's fun about sports radio, is you could have multiple Mount Rushmores, and you could do a Mount Rushmore for college coaches,
right.
Mount Rushmore for NFL coaches, Mount Rushmore. But when you start going across the landscape, because to me, the guy that people look to as far as how they coach and a lot of things they did is John Wooden. Longtime UCLA, 10 national championships, was just so good. So I would want to put John Wooden up there. From a Nick Saban standpoint, he was a game changer. I mean, he turned Alabama, brought him back to the Bear Bryant days. I mean, there's a reason it's Nick Saban Phil, because of what he'd done.
Because, yeah, the question, I mean, looking at this, greatest coach of all time, not necessarily winningest. So, I mean, obviously you got to win to be considered great, but that's also a different subject. Like, you can still be great, but not be the winningest. I mean, you know what I mean? Like Nick Saban, there's people that are going to have more than him, more than.
Well, and I think that's a lot of people think the reason, because Belichick, I believe, is like 20 wins or 26 wins away from Don Shula.
Right.
And so he is, that's the thing about coaching. You can be old. I mean, you can be old and still coach. You don't have to go block anybody or run a route or anything. And so I think that Belichick, of his longevity, not only with, and again, you're going to say Tom Brady or Bill, I think it was a combination. But the fact that, again, that's what's tough about it, because then you look at Coach K, his longevity, stayed at Duke the whole time. Gino, UConn, done all his success one spot. But I'm okay with Popovich being on there. I would probably put even Belichick's tough to put, because you look at and you wonder what Vince Lombardi could he have coached today? Could the guys of old school coach the prima donna athletes that they are today? Because when Vince Lombardi was coaching, even when Don Shula was coaching, for the majority of the beginning of Bill Belichick coaching, Jimmy Johnson coaching, Tom Landry coaching, these great coaches, the players were not making the money that they're making today, to where, I mean, the coaches were probably making more. I don't know what they were making.
Well, the players now are too soft. I mean, for their coaching styles, there's just no way. I don't think that you could bring in a coach of Don or Jimmy Johnson nowadays. No way. Like,
because I even think
players are too soft.
Because I think even the high school coaches are having to coach different for a different, not because the kids are making money, but because of they don't get yelled at, they don't get spanked, they don't get these things. So when you try to coach a kid hard, most kids don't handle that well.
Right.
And then you look at, so my Mount Rushmore would be very, very tough. Popovich, Gino, I think it's kind of when you start looking at greatest athletes all the time, where does Serena fall in that?
Right. No, 100%. That is super hard.
And so I would say.
But then you got two basketball. I mean, obviously, professionally in college, but then, like you asked me, well, are you okay with two basketball coaches on there?
Well, I wrote down NBA, NFL, MLB, and I can't. I mean, I don't know if there's a fourth. I mean, I guess NHL, but the greatest baseball manager of all time. I don't have anybody I'm putting.
Yeah, and see, my brain didn't even go to that. Whatever this question, I didn't even think MLB
but
at all.
NFL, I think the battle would be between Vince Lombardi, Bill Belichick, and it's probably those two.
Mm-hmm.
The NBA, the battle would be Popovich and Jackson. College, the battle would not necessarily be right now between Gino and Vanderveer. I think it would be between Gino and Coach K.
Mm-hmm.
And from college football, it would be probably between Nick Saban, and I don't know if there's a second unless you put Bear Bryant in there.
Well, and that's why I put Saban in there on mine. I would put Saban in there because who else? And like,
and I guess, and honestly, I think that's the other thing that you could look at is on putting. Oh, this is good. On putting the Mount Rushmore up there, is how far is the separation from first to second? Because for Vince Lombardi and Bill Belichick, maybe that's a little closer, so that's why you struggle with who that would be. In the college football world, Nick Saban and Bear Bryant's probably in that talk, in that discussion.
But it's.
But is the separation a bigger gap between? Yeah. Because that's the thing right now. I have a hard time thinking in today's time, who is chasing Saban? Is it Kirby Smart? Who's chasing Gino? You've got Dawn Staley chasing Gino, but she's going to have to be there a long time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just, again, congratulations to Gino Auriemma, what he has done at UConn, the run that he's made and continuing to do. Because the winningest coach in NCAA history is Joe Paterno, but comes with the baggage of Jerry Sandusky and all that. So they're not a whole lot talking about Joe Paterno because of what happened there. But he was the winningest coach. He's the winningest coach in NCAA football history. Nick Saban is done, we think. So he's probably not going to go do that anyway. So great stuff. Congratulations to Gino. Again, the GOAT of women's basketball. Not only women's basketball, winningest coach of all time, but also a very big candidate to be the greatest coach of any sport in the discussion. We'll put that on our Facebook page. Send those to us. If you're watching on our YouTube channel or on Facebook, put it in the chat. Who do you think who would be in your Mount Rushmore when it comes to greatest coaches of all time? Again, don't forget you can download, subscribe, rate, and review. Head over to anywhere you get your podcast. You can hear some of the stuff that we talked about earlier or download previous shows as well. When we come back, we'll talk more Hodge Pack, sports life, and everything in between.
I'm going to be thinking about that all day. That is so hard. But like, if Josh was here, he met somebody from like a baseball manager in there. Who do you think he would pick? But my brain literally did not even go. I went NFL and basketball.
Yeah.
Well, and I like Pat Summitt's style. So, I mean, she's not the winningest, but she's up there somewhere.
for the door. So
Where are y'all doing your headshots?
Next door in cloud. So everything right now in the building next door is like all been ripped apart. So it's all that like raw brick, and so trying to capture like these. Micah, I can't remember her last name. She does all of our pictures, but Emerald wanted our like the aesthetics, to look. And we'll probably use them a little bit more next year, but to take it before. That's the only thing. But like, that's fine, whatever, but yeah.
the only other question.
Oh, sorry. You want me to shut that? Oh, you got it.
What do you think we need to put in the title for this week? Because I thought we talked about some fun stuff.
Gosh. I feel like whenever you said the Baptist hymnal was funny, about Baylor. I'm trying to think what all we talked about. I could probably stay for a few. What do you talk about?
We could more back into your crazy topic of your question.
Okay, yeah, because this segment will end when? Like 55? 50 something?
Yeah.
I'll do this one and go, and then you can do the last minutes, like a recap or something. And Thanksgiving, I mean, we can talk anything about Thanksgiving foods, because obviously that will have already happened. I'm cracking up. Megan's like my little twin. Her and I are twins at work. Like, we dress alike a lot. It's funny.
Yeah, we'll talk that.
Okay.
We'll recap. Remind Mulligan's is open.
Yes. I think that's really cool. Like, I hope that they have a good showing.
Welcome back to the Hodge Pack, brought to you by Lytle Land and Cattle. Be sure you head over to Lytle Land and Cattle, touch base with them, get you a Hodge Pack this weekend, or also check out great food. If you don't want to cook, get some stuff from them, make it part of your Thanksgiving next Thursday. Thanksgiving's coming. I'm actually, again, shout out to this past weekend, or past Monday, went to the Cowboy game, and got to see one of my favorite, and really cool through this show, have gotten to know Laura Rutledge, and got to see her briefly Monday, and it was funny. She's like, "Hey, sorry I didn't get to you," because it was just, I mean, a lot of people. It's not like you just have access to go down on the field anywhere. So
right.
But talk to Laura, and so one of the things that she talks about, and I highly recommend following her on Instagram and Twitter, is she cooks all the time. And one of the people that I think she does, obviously, is probably or has a connection to, is Honey Bake Ham, which has stores in the Metroplex. And so, but they have sides, and so they've got these incredible mac and cheese and mashed potatoes. And so that's what I went by the store while I was there and got some Honey Bake Ham sides. But then I bought their lunch and had a sandwich. It was really good. So you can get it shipped to you. So anyway, that's my goal. And then I'm gonna try to maybe make cinnamon brown sugar carrots. May try to do that, because somebody said, "Do you like carrots?" I said, "I like sugar, cinnamon and brown sugar and butter." And so
interesting. Like, I would think of like yam, not a carrot.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean?
Yeah. Anyway,
Weird.
Lauren actually had posted and said that's what I guess one of the things that she makes. and then it's super easy. So I think I can pour carrots in a crock pot.
Yes. Step one.
Cinnamon and sugar, and butter, I think. And then I guess you let them soften up. And you want to be a coffee bean, not a carrot, because then you get soft. But anyway,
Right.
So outside of deviled eggs, what is your go-to? What's
One thing that I have to have is, and I know it's a hot topic, but I have to have cranberry sauce. Like the old school jellied ocean spray out of the can.
that looks like a blob?
Yes, I have to have the blob to put.
Dressing's my favorite.
Yeah, I have to have the blob, and I'm really not a big turkey fan.
Ham. Give me ham.
So give me ham with the cranberry blob on top. I'm a happy camper for sure.
So anyway, next week. Now we didn't pick it, and I almost asked Josh to add it because I think possibly the next game the Cowboys might be able to win is next week against the Giants. If that was on the pick'em sheet, would you pick the Giants or would you pick the Cowboys?
Against the Giants.
At home, Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think I would go with the Cowboys.
My heart's like a truck. Yeah. Laney wasn't going to be singing the halftime.
I think that I would, I think that I would definitely pick.
I would pick the Cowboys.
I think so.
I think the Cowboys, 2 games they have a chance to win. If nothing changes again, they don't have to try to tank. They can play as hard as they want. Unfortunately, it's not going to be.
Right. I think they are trying. I mean, they're trying. It's just not happening. I mean, they don't want to.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt you question. I mean,
like they're trying hard.
And some people would disagree. You said people aren't going to agree with this statement about the cranberry sauce, and you're probably 100% exactly right. Is that what I'm about to say? They're not going to agree with. CD Lamb's kind of playing hurt or injured. I think a lot of people at this time in the NFL season are dealing with some type of not 100%.
Right.
But they're trying. I mean, that first half, and Josh mentioned the only part he got to watch at the game was the second half, which was the worst part. So I do think they're trying. I do think they're giving it everything they got. But deep down, it's like the playoffs. I mean, you don't think Blackwell played hard, but they're going to have a hard time beating Jayton. Panhandle having a hard time beating Stanford. But you look at a close matchup like Post and Anson, they're there, and you have a close loss, and unfortunately somebody's got to lose. But I just don't think the Cowboys doesn't really matter. And the other thing that I thought about, and
who's the other team that you think they'll beat? The Cowboys?
Carolina. I think they can beat the Panthers.
Okay.
But after that, they got to play the Commanders again to end.
Yeah.
They've got the Eagles one more time. I don't think they'll beat Tampa Bay. Yeah. They got Cincinnati, and Joe Burrow's coming on Monday Night Football again. And then you look back. And I know you can't predict injuries because, again, the season's not scripted, people. But the number of primetime games that the Cowboys had that aren't flexible. Last Monday night, the Texans and Cowboys, Stroud versus Dak Prescott would have been a great game. Joe Burrow versus Dak Prescott would have been a great game. Instead, it's either going to be Trey Lance or Cooper Rush against Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I just look at all that I think it's going to be a lot harder. But I almost threw that in, to Josh, because the show Friday will obviously be after the Thanksgiving games. Would he have picked the Cowboys over the Giants? I think he probably would have.
I think maybe.
I think that again, that's the game I think that we could. I think the Cowboys can win. And I think there's so many bad teams when you start looking about playing and trying to get the right draft pick. You're going to get a top draft pick.
I think more people will tune in for the Thanksgiving game than any previous weeks for the Cowboys.
Well,
because of who they're playing.
And we mentioned Williams is going to be open at 3. Kickoff will be at 3:25. I think that's the other deal is going back to, for a lot of people, their tradition is that.
Right.
You're going to eat and then roll into the Cowboy game. The NFL's not done. They're not going to make the Cowboys the 11:30 game. They're going to make the Cowboys the afternoon game to where, hey, you've got time, you knock out the things, you do your family, whatever, traditions, and eat. Time maybe for a nap before the 3:20,
right.
the 3:25 kickoff. So you do all those things before that, and I think that's what you'll see next week. And I think the Cowboys will have a chance to win. And then it leads into a great weekend of football. As long as Texas does lose to Kentucky, Laura Rutledge and those folks are going to be at Austin for SEC Nation tomorrow. As long as Texas doesn't let Kentucky beat them and A&M doesn't let Auburn beat them, then you're going to have this great matchup on Saturday next week. I've got people that I know that the best hotel that wasn't crazy expensive for next week is in Temple.
Wow.
So going to the game but staying in Temple just because tickets were X, but the hotel rooms were huge too.
And that was something that you sent, right? Was it you or Josh that sent the tickets?
Yes, the ticket sales for that game
start at $570 for the UT A&M game, and tickets for Giants and Cowboys start at $28.
Now there is some debate in that yes, the Cowboys tickets are cheap and the A&M tickets are more expensive. But if you think about it, and going back to what your question, your Misty's bag question again, you can check that out on the podcast. We'll touch base on it in a minute. The way you're getting ready for Wicked tonight, and again, Tracy and I will be going to see that probably, I guess, maybe next weekend because she wants to see it too, is what people will be thinking about next weekend's game. Been waiting for Wicked. It's been promoted. The movie's coming out. You're excited. You're reading up on about it. Now you know how to breathe if you ever start singing.
Such a nerd.
But people are going to be anticipating next week's A&M Texas game big, which now makes me transition. You asked what we were talking about in this last segment as we get ready to send you to the weekend. Did you or Clay, did y'all end up trying to – did y'all go to Mulligan's or anything? Where did you watch the Tyson Paul fight?
Yes, we did. Well, Clay fell asleep. Ethan actually came home. So for those listening, if you don't know, my son is in college, and so he came home for the weekend, and Clay fell asleep, but Ethan and I stayed up, and just me and Eve were watching it, and Collins was at a buddy's house, and so just him and I were watching it, and he is, he's 19, he's smarter than his mom with technology, so Netflix was having some problems, and so Ethan put it on TikTok. He pulled up on his phone. He goes, "Hey mom, people are live streaming it. Just put it on, on your phone." So his phone's going, my phone's going. We've got Netflix on the big screen in the living room, but it was a combination of watching on all three, the TV and the two phones to watch it in real time. And then some, people's TikToks would buffer and all of that. And, on the rear end of Tyson, I'm sure you saw that. That was wild. Like all of a sudden it was just huge on the screen.
Yeah. It literally came back on and you saw nothing but booty.
Yes. And buffering. I'm like, yeah. Oh my gosh.
The worst time to stop is like Mike Tyson's literally
full out.
Yeah.
Both cheeks, all the things, full out.
Literally, you needed him to turn the other cheek really fast.
Yeah, it was. Yes, it was. It was just a sparring match.
No, it was a money grab.
Well, that wasn't a fight. It was just. Yeah.
It was like beating up a elderly person.
It was just.
But the other thing is that Netflix has got to figure that out because they have an NFL game coming up. And not everybody's going to be streaming it on TikTok.
Right.
To watch a 2-hour, 2.5, 3-hour football game, you've got to have that ready.
Yep.
And so it'll be interesting to see if they figure that out. Because it will be a sad.
Did you feel sorry for Tyson as you watched it?
Yeah. I felt bad because when you're willing to get into a ring and fight somebody that's making $40 million to your 20, and I don't know how they came to that. I'm sure somebody can tell me how they came to, all right, Misty, you're going to get 40, I'm going to get 20. And for a guy, and maybe Mike Tyson has done well with his money, I don't know, but that 20 million, it's like, okay, I need this. And then people started like, all right, I'll fight somebody for 20 million or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt bad for Mike. I felt bad for the situation. And
Paul posted game, somebody had asked him, like, basically, did you kind of take it easy on him once you figured out that he really wasn't there? And he said, yeah. He was like, absolutely. Like, you know, after the slap, when he slapped me, I was fired up and ready to go. But then once I got into the ring and realized that he wasn't with it, then I absolutely took it easy on him. And I do feel like that is true. I mean, because watching it, I was like, it looked so staged, but you could tell visibly that he could have gone a lot harder on Tyson, in my opinion. But again, who knows? Maybe I'm seeing it differently since I was watching it 3 ways and it was buffering. But that's just my opinion. I definitely feel like Paul could have. I wanted Tyson handed to him and was disappointed, but I think Paul.
Because it would have been cool to see, like, where you see Tom Brady winning a Super Bowl.
That old man strength.
that it does work out for him, but the fact that it was not even close, that it was not.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was, you know, we talked about how the Cowboys were Saturday Night Live. The election season was Saturday Night Live. That is 100% a Saturday Night Live skit as 100%. Well. And so anyway, but yeah, that's pretty wild stuff. So anyway, have a great weekend. It's going to be lots going on. You've got football, you've got all those things. Be sure to get your Christmas and all that stuff shopping here at the mall. But again, have a great weekend, and we'll be back right after this. But yeah, of course.
Oh gosh.
I'm going to come back.
All right. 8:58.
Actually,
Okay, so I'm gonna go do these pictures. Hopefully they turned out good. All right. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Hey, you too.
All right.
We'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye.